You're so silly.
Not on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they get to see the gross dentist video.
Yeah, if anybody would like to see gross dentist videos,
Please.
okay, I'm not going to put them up on the screen because some of you don't want to see them. But if you want to come over and look, I'll show you. You can circle around.
Ew. Nasty.
Yeah.
So this is cool.
Cool.
It wasn't cool at the time because I was in absolute agony, but it was kind of cool.
Can you bring it over here, Miss Denny, so that they can see?
Yeah, let me go over behind really. That's a good place.
Oh,
Let's do it there. Okay, so
You like this.
I'm gonna roll.
first I'm going to show you. So this was a CT scan of my jaw, and that is my nerve. So that's what got in place was that nerve. Okay. So there's that. Okay. I got some good drain that came out.
I'm not.
Okay, there's my tooth. This is the abscess, and that's the little tunnel it does. My bone, right? This is where she drilled. This is like looking at my mandible from above. So from outside of the bone to here was 17 millimeters. Your jaw's about 23 millimeters tall. So it's nearly the entire thing, right? So let me see, what else do I have? Oh, they stuck me a million times for IVs. I had IV holes everywhere. This was the first drain. It's that little thing there. Isn't that gross? Okay. That's the nasty blood clot that came out of it. Isn't that fun? I know, right? That's the abscess right here. Right? I know some people really like those pictures.
Ew.
This is drugs.
This is.
It was bad. It was very bad. These are drugs. And then let's see. This is the second drain. Was much bigger.
Ow.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we are. Yeah. Show me yours. Ooh, that's gonna be really pretty when it
It was like
I gotta dip out more.
That's fine. I'll leave a little scar. The rest of
That's
it
what's
looks really good.
That's what's currently.
Yeah.
I have it uncovered right now, but that's
Yes.
it.
That's gonna, most of that's gonna feel pretty nicely, I think.
Most
though.
of this has come off. It's not.
Wait, so-
It's
Yes, this is Bob.
Hi, Bob.
He is named for Robert Hooke. Remember who Robert Hooke was? Who remembers?
Wasn't he the guy who did the BT vents?
No, no, not Bob.
Only true lab rats ODs remember Hubble. Back in the
Hubble. Think Wegener's the one that's kind of the real OG one. So Robert Hooke was the guy who coined the term cell. Remember, he looked at cork under a microscope and he thought they looked like little cells, like cloisters for monks or something, or prisoners. Yeah. So yes, cell. That's Robert Hooke. So this is Bob. And Bob,
He's trying.
you hungry? He comes to the surface when he wants to eat. So he's very smart in that way. I've had some that are just stupid, but here you go.
How was the journey getting here?
I came from Taiwan, so it was quite a way. And then he came from Taiwan to Houston, and then an international shipper shipped him from Houston to here in a little box with lots of packing.
More than wilderness.
So yeah, for me too. He's a busy boy, but he's cute. I like him. He's all right. Okay, so we're gonna do this lesson today. I want to make sure everybody found your slides for lesson 23. I included them in that email that came out, and I will include them again in this week's email to make sure that everybody has a chance to review them. Please review them, even though I didn't record a lesson for you. I couldn't record because I could barely talk. I mean, and even if it was like that, because I was stoned for about 4 days, like legitimately, like on oxycodone, and it was not pretty. Apparently, I talked and wrote a lot on Facebook, which I'm not so sure about, but it was a thing. But anyway. So be sure you go back, look at lesson 23. You're going to be accountable for all of that information. So, all right. And I'll be sure to put the links back in again. If I have time to do a slide recording, I will, but I don't think you all need it. I think you're capable people. So let's look at I'm tapping you. Oh, yes, I know. All right. So why is it better to classify animals as chordates or non-chordates rather than vertebrates or invertebrates? All right, Barrett.
Like based on like the option bar I put was like there might be more of one.
Okay.
Like if, for example, like if you were to describe like a mammal, there's more humans than most other mammals. So when you think of mammal, you think of human.
Colin, what about you?
I put chordates is based on evolutionary.
Yeah.
What is or is not.
So evolutionary and also embryological evidence. So Your big kicker here that you can remember is going to be this, guys. Class Chondrichthyes. So animals in phylum Chordata possess a notochord or a central nerve cord. Do you have a central nerve cord? Yes, it's your spinal cord, right? But not all of them have a bony spine. So when you say vertebrate, you're implying a bony spine. But class Chondrichthyes, which contains sharks, skates, and rays, is a great example because they are chordates, but they are not vertebrates. Why isn't a shark a vertebrate? Claire.
Because it doesn't have any bones.
It doesn't have any bones. What's it made of? Cartilage, right? So because it has a cartilaginous skeleton, it has no backbone. It is not technically a vertebrate. It is a predecessor to a vertebrate, but it's better to classify as chordates and non-chordates. Always remember class Chondrichthyes. This might show up somewhere else in the future, like maybe on some exams, like maybe on some big exams. So this question, all right? Now, what's an example of an animal that possesses bilateral symmetry, Eunice? Us, great example. So out of these three, whoop, we get that one. Sorry, I didn't leave for the juniors. So us, what is another example? Butterfly. Okay, great. Oops, sorry, that is my take your drugs. Sorry, I have to take my drugs if I want to keep standing up. So give me a second. I have every 4 hours that alarm goes off. Oh, I need to eat with them because it's antibiotics and crap. So, okay. All right, thanks for bearing with me. What's an example of an animal that possesses radial symmetry, Asher?
Huge.
Good example. Anybody else have one? Jordan. Sea stars. Good. Okay. Good. These are like a snowflake, right? Okay. They come out from the middle and radiate like a pizza. All right. And how about no body, Claire?
A sea sponge.
No body symmetry. A sea sponge is a great example. So it's like coral, right? So they're kind of amorphous, right? That's a great example. All right. And into which body systems do the cells of the endoderm differentiate, the mesoderm, and the ectoderm? So your endoderm is going to give rise to certain organs, colon, stomach, intestines, liver, lungs, pancreas, a lot of digestive system stuff. We call that alimentary canal. And if you study embryology, you will see that there is a point in which an embryo goes from being just a spherical ball that's sort of nondescript. It's got cells that go all the way around it, and there's like a little blob off to the side. And then suddenly it will do this thing, it's neurulation, where it will kind of fold in on itself. And it starts to form your nerve cord and your alimentary canal. And your alimentary canal is mouth to anus. So if you've got a system that goes from mouth to anus, that's kind of when that starts, all of that in the beginning. Your mesoderm is going to give rise to skeletal cells, smooth muscle, blood vessels, cartilaginous, all this kind of stuff. And your ectoderm is going to be like your skin, your nervous system, right? Cool. All right, so now let's talk about invertebrate evolution and diversity. So these are specifically invertebrates, not just non-chordates. So what are our origins here? So we're talking 3 billion years ago. We had some prokaryotes and eukaryotes that were single-celled, and animals evolved from ancestors that they shared organism called cyanophylagellates. And that's our beginning. So 3 billion years ago. And here are some traces of them. Early Cambrian explosion. First, animals were tiny, soft-bodied, and we don't have a lot of fossils. Why wouldn't we have a lot of fossils for tiny, soft-bodied organisms? Jordan. No, sorry. Looked right at me. Barrett. They're going to decompose easier. Why else? Smaller. And yeah, there's no bones, and they're smaller, so there's no bones to mineralize, right? So basically what you would get would be like an imprint or something like this. As animals became larger and more complex, specialized cells joined together, and this is how you get tissues and organ systems that work together to carry out your complex functions. Trace fossils are tracks and burrows made by animals whose body parts weren't fossilized. So like I said, imprints, tracks, things of that sort, because they don't have any tissues that can really be mineralized in such a way that they can be fossilized. So their bones are not going to be replaced by minerals. Fossils came from the Cambrian period, date back roughly 565 to 545 million years ago, and they show little evidence of cell, tissue, or organ specialization. They have them, they're not specialized, and no organization in a front end to back end situation. So you've got organisms that have a front end to back end situation. That would be like us. We got a front end and a back end, right? Pretty obvious where your front end is and your back end is, right? And then all of your higher organisms are going to have a front to back organization, but some of these really early guys don't. They're much more kind of blobby, and they've got like maybe a foot and a stomach, and some of them kind of have a head, you know, but they don't have much going on as far as like a real clear system that runs through them. And Cambrian fossils show that over a period of 1 million years, animals evolved complex body plans, including specialized cells, tissues, organs. Many had body symmetry, segmentation, a front end and a back end, appendages, structures such as legs or antennae protruding from their body. And by the end of the Cambrian period, all the basic body plans of the modern phyla had been established. So everything from your body plans from arthropods to chimpanzees were pretty much established at that point. So our modern invertebrate diversity, all invertebrates except sponges exhibit some type of body symmetry. I think I would lump, well, coral actually on a smaller level do, but like as a colony, they don't, right? So either radial symmetry or bilateral symmetry. Invertebrates with cephalization. What is cephalization? Yes, Jordan. It has a head. There you go. Cephalo. See that? So that's head, right? Very good. So organisms with cephalization can respond to the environment more quickly and in more sophisticated ways than can simpler invertebrates. So I want you to think about what live animals we've used in lab. Who can think of a live animal we used in lab?
The planarians?
Planarians, perfect. Did they have cephalization?
Yeah.
Yes, they had eye spots at one end, right? They had a head with eye spots on it. So they clearly had some degree of cephalization. So even though they are very, very, very on the less organized, less evolutionarily advanced end of things, they still are cephalized, right? And then you got worms, arthropods, and mollusks, and we call these protostomes. And echinoderms and deuterostomes. So protostomes and deuterostomes, this is kind of weird. It has to do with how the anal pore develops on the embryo. Doesn't that sound weird? It's a whole thing. And we're not going to get too deep into it, but if you do college level biology, especially if you do anything like embryology or comparative anatomy or any of that, you may go through this whole thing about protostomes and deuterostomes, but it has to do with how anal pores develop on animals, which is it's actually kind of interesting. It's weird, but so a lot of biology is weird. So here's your non-chordate invertebrates and where your chordate invertebrates kind of come in. All right. So all of these are non-chordates, right? All these guys, sponges, cnidarians. You talked about these last week, right? Flatworms, roundworms, mollusks, annelids, arthropods, echinoderms, and then you have chordates. And if you look here, your echinoderms are going to be separated out by your radial symmetry, and so are your cnidarians, right? Excellent. So the cladogram of non-chordate invertebrates presents current hypotheses about evolutionary relationships among major groups of modern invertebrates. And that's the point of a cladogram, right? How are things related? How did something come from something else? So if you notice here, the assumption is that there was a branch, and that branch over here put mollusks, annelids, segmented worms like your earthworm today, and arthropods all together branching from here. So did echinoderms evolve from arthropods? Look at the cladogram. Here's your echinoderm, and here's your arthropod. Did an echinoderm have an ancestor with an arthropod, and where would it be? And did echinoderms evolve from arthropods? What do you think? What do you think?
No.
No, because arthropods branched off here. It's a separate branch. But their last common ancestor would be down here with your roundworms, right? So echinoderms did not evolve from arthropods, annelids, or mollusks, and neither did chordates. These guys took a separate path, right? They kind of went off on their own. These features include body symmetry, cephalization, segmentation, formation of a coelom. A coelom is like a body cavity, okay? Just kind of think of it as a body cavity. So let's talk about chordate evolution and diversity. What's this guy? Yeah, big, beautiful ray. So what class is it? I just told you a minute ago.
Chordate.
That's a phylum, Chordata. And what class is it? I told you this is the one you're going to want to remember. Chondrichthyes, right? Chondrichthyes. Why? Because what's its skeleton made of? Cartilage. These are sharks, skates, and rays. Chondrichthyes. You're going to want to remember chondrichthyes. All right, so Origins of the chordates and the earliest chordates. Look at this
The
dude.
slug from Monsters.
Isn't he cool? Look at him. He's really cool. Chordates are animals that we know best because they're generally large, often conspicuous, and strike us as beautiful, impressive, cute, or frightening. Most of what you're used to seeing, with the exception of like mollusks and whatever, are your chordates. So some we keep as pets, others many of us eat as sources of protein. Is Bob a chordate? Yes, yes, he has a bony skeleton and he has a nerve cord, right? He even has a little brain, a very small brain because he's a fish. He's not very smart, but he does smart enough to learn to come to the surface to get food. And when I'm standing here, he will come to the surface because he's like, oh, that thing out there drops things in here that feed me. Or when that thing's there, food arrives. So I'm coming up. Very basic behavioral stuff, right? Embryological studies suggest that the most ancient chordates were related to the ancestors of echinoderms. So we just saw how that little branch was the last branch. The echinoderms branched off right before chordates. In 1999, fossil beds from later in the Cambrian period yielded specimens of, I'm not going to say that, which is the earliest known vertebrate. I don't, yeah, I'm going to say it wrong if I say it. So, yeah, I'm going to say it wrong. So, cartilage is a strong connective tissue that is softer and more flexible than bone. So, modern chordate diversity. Modern chordates are very diverse and they consist of 6 groups. So you have non-vertebrate chordates, and there are 5 groups of vertebrates, which are fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals are your major groupings. And these are going to be classes too. Class Osteichthyes, class Amphibia, and you'll see as we go on. Okay, and then so what would fall into this non-vertebrate chordates again? What class? Here it is again. Here's the word. Chondrichthyes. Amen. Keep that one in your heads, people. All right, good job. About 95% of all modern chordate species are vertebrates. So there's 96%. So there's a very small section that are not. Sharks, skates, rays, a couple of other little things. Like we'll talk about agnathans and whatever. Agnathans are cool as all get out. I like them. So among vertebrates, fishes, class Osteichthyes, are going to be your largest group. Fishes. Did you know that? More fishes than any of the rest of us. So here's your cladogram of chordates. We have our non-vertebrate chordates. This is a chordate of some kind. Fun little guy hanging out. Then you've got fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. And this is going to kind of be the evolutionary chain that we're going to follow along here, okay? So the cladogram of chordates presents a current hypothesis among relationships for chordate groups, and it shows at which points important vertebrate features such as jaws and limbs developed. Now, here are your non-vertebrate chordates. Tunicates and lancets, which are these little non-vertebrate thing. They look sort of like fish type things, but they're not fish, right? They're really kind of cool. Adult tunicates look more like sponges than like another organism than us that you might, or a fish or something like that. They have neither a notochord or a tail, but their larval forms have key chordate characteristics. So here's where the embryology kicks in, where it matters, right? Then we have agnathans. I love these guys. Okay, these guys are lamprey and hagfishes, and they both lack vertebra and notochords as adults. They're filter feeders and as larvae parasites as adults. So they're filter feeders as larvae and parasites as adults. Hagfishes have a pinkish gray worm-like body, and they secrete incredible amounts of slime and tie themselves in knots. Yes, have you seen them? They're awesome. Now, you're going to find in here, these are like jawless fishes is what they call them. They tend to have teeth but no jaws. So your agnathans are your jawless fishes. And some of them are the freakiest looking organisms on the planet. Freaky, but they're super cool. Like hagfishes and lampreys are like freaky looking. And then we have chondrichthyes. So these have jaws. So here's the difference between your agnathans and your chondrichthyes, is that suddenly now we have jaws. So we have some calcified structure, but we still have a cartilaginous skeleton. This is why you find shark teeth and shark jaws on beaches, but you don't find anything else because there are no other bony structures in them. So they're still chordates, but they're made of cartilage and they have a good bony jaw. But your agnathans don't have a bony jaw. They do have little teeth structures, but there's no bony jaw for them to anchor in. And their fins are attached to limb girdles, which are supported by structures made of cartilage or bone. And those adaptations launch the adaptive radiation of the class of chondrichthyes, sharks, skates, and rays. And they are probably one of my second favorites, just evolutionarily is kind of cool. All right, now Colin's happy because we're going on to bony fishes. Colin's my fish man here. All right, osteichthyes. I like that one. Osteichthyes. What's ichthyosis? I'm sure you know. You don't know ichthyosis? Do you know? It's like a disease that fish get. They get little white bumps all over. You seen it? Yeah, ichthyosis. So this is your same word in here. Osteichthyes. So if ich means fish, osteo means what? Bony fish. She nailed it. There you go, Isabella. Bony fish. Your osteichthyes are your bony fishes. There you go. So these are ancient fishes and modern fishes, but your ancient ones evolved hard skeletons made of calcified tissue. This is where your true bone finally comes into your evolutionary chain here. True bone. Shh, over there. So you have ray-finned fishes. They're aquatic vertebrates with skeletons of true bone. Most have paired fins, scales, and gills. And then you have lobe-finned fishes, and these are freaking cool too. So these are a different group of bony fishes that have fleshy fins supported by larger, more substantial bones. These are the guys that can come out on the mud. You ever seen them? They walk out on the they kind of come up, and you're like, what is that? It doesn't even really look like a fish because it has these little, their fins are like, almost like little stubs. Yep, mud skipper is a good example of one. Yep, they're really cool looking. And then we have amphibians. Oh, aren't they sweet? So what's the word amphibian mean? It means double life. Makes sense, right? Because the first part of their life is where? Yeah, they have to develop in the water embryologically. So it refers to the fact that their larval stage or embryological stage is on water, but then they're on land as adults. And they, yes, of course, they swim in the water, but they need to keep their skin moist, right? So several fossils indicate that various lines of lobed fin fishes evolved sturdier and sturdier appendages, which resembled the limbs of tetrapod. What's a tetrapod? Jordan? 4 limbs. Yes. Okay. Are you a tetrapod, everybody? Yes, you are. You have 4 appendages, do you not? Right? So our early lobe fin fishes, the little mud skippers that Isabella referenced with their little on the mud with their little stubby fins, eventually evolved those into actual jointed appendages. And that's how we get from fish to amphibians. So we've gone from non-bony cartilaginous fish to fish that have jaws and a cartilaginous structure to fish that have a full bony structure to amphibians.
Why is it tetra? Isn't that more than 4?
That's 4. It's a way of doing 4. And then early amphibians evolved ways to breathe. It can be more than 4 though. Evolved ways to breathe air and protect themselves from drying out in certain situations. So I was in Home Depot one time, and I was way in the back of Home Depot, like where they have the shelving and stuff. And this frog like starts jumping along, and I barely saw it because it was the color of that gray concrete floor because it was absolutely covered in dust, concrete dust, tile dust, store dust, lint. He was completely covered. That means he can't breathe because they breathe. Some of their air gas exchange is through their skin. Their skin is, that's why these are, frogs are a good indicator of whether or not like your water is polluted. If your frogs start dying, your water's polluted because they absorb everything through their skin. So I grabbed him and checked out as quickly as I could. He was a green tree frog with the little guys with the little yellow and white bellies and little green guys. I couldn't tell that if I thought he was, but he was completely covered in gray. It was just gross. He was covered in sticky stuff all over him. So I brought him home and I got him a bowl of water through the filter because I'm trying not to get any chemicals from the sink water in him. And I put him in it and I very gently rubbed his little skin until it got slimy again because that's what it needs to be. And I, got him as clean as I could and set him free because they can't breathe like that. They can't live like that. He would have died within a few hours if I hadn't found him. I also was in Target once and a random frog jumped on my foot. And I don't know what it is about me finding frogs in department stores and hardware stores, but then I had to catch him, and there were these ladies screaming in the clothing section, and I'm like, it was this big, like
It's a
yeah.
frog.
Yeah.
I hear that's just.
I'll tell you in a minute. Yeah.
Like a month ago, I was sitting with my dog. 1 a.m, my dog starts barking.
Mm-hmm.
She likes to bark at the frogs outside.
Mm-hmm.
The creek. And
They're loud.
I was just like, dude, what are you barking at? I looked at a frog under my bed.
Yeah.
Like, it was small. It was
So-
like it was climbing up the USB cable I have.
Our old house was in the woods, and we had like a porch light that the frog, a tree frog, a big green tree frog, she'd park herself by the porch light every night on the brick because she was waiting for the bugs to come to the light. That's very smart, right? And she would just pick off dinner. And then her friends all started coming. One day I opened the door, and there was one, I didn't see it, but it was like between the door and the top of the door frame. So when I opened the door, it fell on my head. That was a surprise. But the best one is we had big holes in the screens at that house. The windows needed replacing, but the screens had big holes in them. And Jason and I went to bed one night with the windows open. And the next morning we went about our day. Now it was windows open, bedroom, bathroom way on the other side, right? Okay. So I go upstairs after breakfast to get dressed, and sitting on the top of my toilet tank is a green tree frog with his arms folded like this, just napping on the top of my toilet tank. And I was like, either it crawled across the ceiling, across the wall, or it hopped in there. I don't know, but they make their way into the house.
Oh, my room's upstairs too.
Yeah.
My room's upstairs. So
Yeah, this was second story. Yep. So
Is that real?
yes, that's real. These are all real. It's very cute. So let's talk reptiles real quick. So reptiles evolved from ancient amphibians, and they were the first vertebrates to evolve adaptations for drier conditions. So dinosaurs lived in the Triassic and Jurassic periods and lived all over the world. About how many million years ago was your worldwide mass extinction? Does somebody know? Do you know? 53? 66? But close guess. That's a good guess. I would never remember. I'm terrible at numbers. So that was at the end of the Cretaceous period, right? All right, so now birds. Now that's next in line. Birds are reptiles that regulate their internal body temperature, essentially. They're like an evolved reptile. Birds evolved from reptiles. And when you look at dinosaurs today, if you're looking for your modern day dinosaurs, yes, some reptiles, but birds. And here's how you can tell that a skink, everybody's seen a skink, right? Or an anole, these little lizards that live in your yard. Here's how you can tell that they did not evolve from a dinosaur. It has to do with their hips. If you look at a lizard's hips, they're out to the side like this, right? Their legs are out to the side. Where are a bird's hips? Underneath its body. Where was a T-Rex's hips? Underneath its body, right? T-Rex, if you took a Apatosaurus, like one of those like Brontosaurus type thing, right? A Apatosaurus or a Brachiosaurus, one of those big guys, right? With the big long necks and the bellies, and tried to give them lizard hips, they would have to walk in a ditch because their belly would be just dragging on the ground, right? So yes, reptiles evolved from dinosaurs, but it's a separate branch. If you want to look at modern day dinosaurs, it's those wing suckers out there. Those are modern day dinosaurs, essentially. So recent fossil discoveries strongly suggest the hypothesis that birds evolved from a group of dinosaurs. Modern birds by themselves, the traditional class, do you know? Hey, very good, Avies. Yep. Form a clade within the clade containing dinosaurs. Make sense? And then we have mammals. Oh, that's a baby sloth. Isn't he cute? Characteristics unique to mammals include mammary glands in the females, which produce what? What comes from mammary glands, people? Everybody. Milk. Gotta have milk, right? There's that mammo again. Mammary, mammal, mammogram. It's all the same thing. Either it's getting squished or it's feeding something in one of those examples. Okay. So then you've got, they also have hair. Mammals also tend to have not just hair, mammary glands, they tend to have differentiated teeth. If you think about it, most mammals have differentiated, specialized teeth as well. So they can breathe air, have 4-chambered hearts. Amphibians have 3-chambered hearts, 4-chambered hearts, and regulate their internal body temperature. After birth, most placental mammals care for their young and nurse them to provide nourishment. A non-placental mammal, which we will talk about when we get to mammals, would be a monotrem, of which there are only a few species, like echidnas and platypus, those type of things, right? They're very different. They're cool. I love them. So then we have our primate evolution. Isn't it cute?
It's more.
They call it a bush baby, but I'm not sure it is actually. It's adorable. So what's a primate? He's cute as can be. Yes. All right. Primates include lemurs, monkeys, and apes, and share several adaptations for a life spent in trees. In general, a primate is a mammal that has relatively long fingers and toes with nails instead of claws, arms that can rotate around shoulder joints, strong clavicle, binocular vision, and a well-developed cerebrum. Are you a primate? Yeah, absolutely. Does that not describe you? That describes you. You can do all that, all those things. Look at that. Yes, you do. You have 2 eyes. You can do depth perception with 2 eyes, binocular vision. So fingers and toes. Here is a human. Here is a type of, I think that one's a gorilla. Or, yeah, this guy. So primates typically have 5 flexible fingers and toes on each hand and foot, and they can curl and grip objects firmly and precisely. Look at the hand structure there. Extremely similar. This guy's fingers are longer because he has to climb more trees and things. He needs to climb more trees. This guy's fingers are probably a little more dexterous because he probably has had to do some more fine-tuned work, right? Fine muscle.
It's called a bonobo.
Yeah, oh, okay, bonobo. Bonobo is our closest relative, our closest genetic relative. We share almost all of our DNA with the bonobo. And they're extremely bright. They can be taught sign language.
Oh, it was what was her name?
Coco, I think.
No, Coco was a gorilla.
Oh, she was the gorilla. There was one at the Emory Primate Center. Yeah, they can do sign language. They can learn to use like an iPad. It's pretty wild. So it enables many primates to run along tree limbs, swing for branches with these opposable thumbs. Man, shh. In addition, most primates have thumbs, big toes that can move against the other digits. Can you move your thumb separately from the rest of your fingers? It's opposable, right? This is important, right? Does your dog doesn't really have that. Your dog might have that extra digit kind of up higher on his leg, but he can't use it like this. He can't grip like that, right?
What if your dog
Your dog needs to go see a scientist if he can grip something with that little dew claw off the back of his leg, which they usually remove. Binocular vision, Yusuf. Binocular vision, primates have a broad face, so both eyes face forward with overlapping fields up to view, which gives you depth perception. Like think about a rabbit, right? Rabbit's eyes are on the side of its head because it is what? It's a prey animal. It needs to see what's going on around it. So it tells you that primates are more either in the either predator category for us, or they need to see what's going on in front of them for more herbivore types, right? Binocular vision is the ability to combine visual images from the eyes, providing depth perception and a 3-dimensional view of the world. This is huge. Your dog's view of the world is not your view of the world. They have binocular vision, but they don't see color the way we see color. And a rabbit's view of the world is going to be very different from your view of the world because they don't have the binocular vision going with they do, but it's different. It's not forward facing, right? It's sideways facing. Try to perceive what that would look like. It's like incomprehensible, right? You can't because you don't know any different. Yeah.
Like, I want to say like yellow.
It's like greens and it's greens and grays and stuff like that. So this comes in handy for judging the locations of tree branches from which they may swing, right? And then when we talk about our evolution of primates, it's so cute, right? Humans and other primates evolved from a common ancestor that lived. Anybody want to guess where we branched from apes and primates? What do you think?
It's probably really recent. We say 1.2.
1.2?
1.27.
1.27?
Okay.
7?
2.
2? 100 billion? 3? 65. That's still pretty recent.
Wait, that's
right? So humans branched off from the other primates about 65 million years ago.
That's like during the dinosaur period, right?
No, that was 600. 600. Yeah, 66. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 600. Yeah. So primates in one of these groups, well, that's where our branch went. That doesn't mean that we were suddenly there, but that's where our branch went, our hominid branch there. They look, primates in one of these groups look very like typical monkeys. Oh, we have tarsiers and arthropods. We get down. Arthropods or human-like primates include monkeys, great apes, and humans. He does wait. The baby's like, Mama, give me one of these bananas. Now we have New World monkeys. New World monkeys have a prehensile tail that can coil tightly enough around a branch to serve as like a fifth hand. You've seen this, right? You've seen the monkeys with tails, like the Curious George style monkeys, right? By the way, that show used to make me crazy because I think it gave my children ideas of what to do wrong.
George does not have a tail though.
He doesn't? I thought he did. Okay. Well, anyway, he was always getting in trouble. He made me crazy. Yeah. So great apes called hominoids include gibbons, orangutans, gorillas, chimpanzees, and humans, right?
The orangutan is black.
Now, hominid versus hominin, right? This gets a little confusing, and we're not going to go to, you're not going to have a test on it, but just kind of understand it. So your hominid is a group consisting of all modern and extinct great apes. That includes us. Okay, so chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, plus their immediate ancestors. These are hominids with a D. Hominin, is a group consisting of modern humans, so we still fit in this group, extinct human species, and all immediate ancestors. So humans are both hominids and hominins, but your chimpanzees, gorillas, etc. are not hominins. They stop there. Does that make sense? It's like a group within a group. So the term hominid was used to have the same meaning as homonym now has. So that it can be useful to designate the line leading to modern humans. So this is why we kind of separated them out. So hominid has been assigned a broader meaning now, and it refers to all the great apes and their ancestors. And the new terminology is being used in scientific journals. So this is how we're doing it these days. The problem for students and teachers is that a lot of textbooks still use old system, and some internet sites still have the old system too. So teachers and students will need to be aware that hominids can have two different meanings depending on how up-to-date a reference is. So just be aware of that when you see it. Hominin is a group within a group. That's Lucy, Australopithecus. This is Lucy.
Is she the one that was sent to space?
No. She is a fossil, and you can see, I actually have pictures of a replica of her in the New York Museum of Natural History, like Night in the Museum, right? They've got a replica of her there. So hominins led to humans and include modern humans and all other species more closely related to us. Chimpanzees also, guys, these are the guys with bigger brains. These are your more thinking organisms. Since the 1990s, new discoveries in Africa have doubled the number of known hominin species. Hominin fossils date back 7 million years. Okay, so it's pretty recent, right? This is where your branch of humans is really starting to branch off. This is where we're going to become humans, right? 7 million years ago. That is not that long. That is very, very recent. Think about it when we did that timeline of Earth. Remember, it was like a football field and they showed you, right? So ancestors are relatives. There are various hypotheses on how these guys are related to humans. All of them relate to modern humans, but not all are ancestors. Distinguishing relatives from ancestors is an ongoing challenge. For example, Neanderthals. Did we evolve from Neanderthals? Does anybody know? No, they're a separate species that kind of branched off this way. So we did not evolve from them. So they're very similar to us. Like if you compare their skulls to our skulls, they're very, very similar, but our branch kept going this way and their branch went that way. We have a common ancestor, but we did not evolve from them. So in 2002, paleontologists in Africa discovered a skull 7 million years old, and that was, Sahelanthropus. And scientists are still debating whether it represents one of these hominins in this group. And here is Lucy, Australopithecus, and she is very important. She is one of the most important fossils ever found. So she lived 4 million years ago, lived from about 4 million years ago to about 1.5. That's when this species was alive, okay? She's a female skeleton discovered in 1974, which lived about 3.2 million years ago. That's when she was alive. In 2006, an Ethiopian researcher announced the discovery of some incredibly well-preserved 3.3-million-year-old fossils of a very young female. So they found more. But Lucy herself is extremely important. She's just a very well-known fossil. So if you talk to, anthropologists or paleontologists and you mention Lucy, they'll know exactly who you're talking about, right? So the road to modern humans. All right, how do we get here? So look, here's our ancestor down here. There's our chimpanzees over here. So yes, we're related, but it's way back here, right? Here is Australopithecus. This right here, this is Lucy. She was right here, and this is why she's important, because she's the last common ancestor before you branch off this way, and you get these two guys, which look a lot like us, but are not going to be an ancestor of ours. And then right here, you get this guy, and then that is the last common ancestor before you get Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, there's your Neanderthals, and then us. You can see right here, common ancestor, not evolved from. We did not evolve from Homo erectus. We did not evolve from Neanderthals, but we have a common ancestor, and that last common ancestor would be right down here, right? Okay, so hominins have lived millions of years before modern humans. Many species in our genus existed before our species. So this is our genus, right? And many species existed before our species. Homo sapiens appeared. Furthermore, at least 3 other Homo species existed at the same time as early humans. So we were living with Neanderthals, but we did not evolve from Neanderthals. Now they have found some modern humans have some Neanderthal DNA. So what does that tell you?
We were breeding.
We were breeding with them, even though we did not evolve from them. So that means they have the same number of? Yes, good job. Good job. Absolutely. So yeah, we were breeding with them. And if you look at them, it makes you wonder why. Yeah.
I kind of am getting into that and like got into it when I was studying Uncanny Valley.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
it's a theory that other species of humans developed that Uncanny Valley sense in us, but we also breeded with Neanderthals.
Yes.
Obviously, some of us don't have that feeling.
Yeah. And not every modern human is going to have that line that goes back. It's just some do. And it's kind of interesting. So does everybody know what she means by Uncanny Valley? Okay, can you explain Uncanny Valley for the people who don't know?
It's like a point where we recognize that it's a human, but it's too off.
Like humanoid.
It's humanoid.
If it's like a
have you seen
there's
the
mannequins.
The Boston Dynamics robots that look like people and walk around, but there's something creepy about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something creepy about it because it's humanoid, but we recognize that it's not one of us, but we recognize that it's really similar, and it kind of gives you an uneasy feeling. Is Uncanny Valley. Great name. I don't know why, but cool name.
It's because on a graph, our brain recognizes that it's human, and it goes up and up until we get to robot, but then it dips.
Oh, is that why? Is that what
this is
I didn't know.
And then this is...
There you go. Okay.
Other species of Homo would have genetic disorders as well if they had the same amount of chromosomes.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our main evolutionary line for where we are today. And what you did last week, we went from sponges to cnidarians to worms, and we're getting more complex as we go. So now we are moving on to mollusks, arthropods, and echinoderms. This thing is gorgeous. Yeah, these are found in Australia. Should you pick them up?
No.
Oh, no. We don't pick these up. Although they're so beautiful. They're called like a sea dragon or something. They're, huh? Yeah. You don't want to be touching them, but they're absolutely stunning. Like oozes from their skin, toxins you don't want. They're beautiful. So look at his cute face.
It's the guy from Sing.
So here are. So these are our features of mollusca. All right. So they have bilateral symmetry. You can cut them right down the middle, right? All right. They are tripoblastic, which means they have 3 layers: endoderm, mesoderm, ectoderm, just like we do. That has to do with their embryologic development, right? And they have show organ systems that are organized. They have a soft, unsegmented body. They're kind of a blob, right? The body is divisible into 3 regions: a head, a visceral mass, and a ventral foot. And that can be very hard to determine if you don't know what you're looking at, because like I said, they're pretty blobby, right? The body is covered by a mantle and a shell in most cases, not in all cases. We have plenty of mollusks that do not have a shell, right? And then we have plenty of mollusks that do have a shell. So usually, but not always. And they can be found in aquatic and terrestrial habitats. Their body cavity is called a hemocoel, and it circulates blood within it, okay? Like we talked about a coelom being a body cavity, hemo blood, hemocoel blood cavity, basically. And the digestive system is well developed and complex, should say system there. And it has a radula. This is the coolest thing about a snail or any of these other mollusks. They have this little tongue-like thing that comes out. If you've ever seen a snail, I've got video. We got snails a couple years ago, and it was the last time I did this class, and I didn't do it again this time on purpose because it scared me. But it scared me because I found this great vendor on Etsy that had these giant Roman snails. Like, they were huge. They were like this big. They were beautiful. And it was a great Etsy ad, and it looked like super professional. And I'm like, oh, I'll order, like 30 snails from this man. And I ordered them. And then it says, your package is coming from Ukraine. And I was like, I don't think I'm allowed to ship them internationally. But so basically I had like counterfeit, like custom. I'm really shocked. Custom. I was waiting for the knock on the door from US Customs to be like, excuse me, why are you ordering organisms from Ukraine? But it scared me to death. I thought I was going to get arrested. But they arrived and they were very cool. But I have great close-up video of one of them like eating in the tank, and they use this little radula, and it's like this barbed, sharp, kind of calcified tongue that they can use to eat stuff and kind of tear it up. They also can produce snails. Some snails produce these things called love darts, and it's part of their mating ritual. And they're these hard, calcified like needles that they shoot at each other and skewer each other. Boom! Let's do it, baby. I mean, it's like so weird, but that's what they do. They stab each other, and that's foreplay. They're stabbing each other with sharp things. It's very strange. It's my favorite. There's videos of it. There's you can look it up. You can look up love darts. I'm not showing it in class because it's like way beyond. But if you want a good laugh, it's worth it. So they have chitinous teeth. Remember, chitin makes up the cell walls of what kind of organism? Do you remember? Fungus is chitin. It also makes up the exoskeleton of things like Caitlin's looking up love darts. Also makes up this exoskeletons of arthropods, right? So circulatory system is open, has a heart and an aorta. Respiration occurs through gills. And they have a ventral muscular foot, this thingy down here that helps them move along. Like that's the part of the snail that's on the ground, right? Right? And they have a pair of kidneys, and the sexes are separate, and reproduction is through sexual reproduction, sometimes by stabbing their mate with giant needles. It's the weirdest thing. And fertilization can be internal or external. When we get into weird mating, just wait till we get into our marsupials and monotremes. That is the wildest stuff you'll ever see. Wild. So we have classes of mollusks. We've got gastropods. Okay, break this word down for me. What do you suppose gastropod means? Gastro, what's gastro? Pod means foot. Okay, we got foot, Lucas. All right, so what's gastro? Yeah, stomach. It's actually stomach foot. So in this case, we're looking at stomach foot. So that is gastropod. You ever heard of a gastropub?
No.
Oh, yeah, it's an eatery or a gastroenterologist. Is your stomach doctor, right? Okay, so gastropod. And remember pod, we did pseudopod, right, with our amoebas. Gastropods possess 4 body parts. They are a head, mantle, which sometimes has your shell, your muscular foot, and a mass or a hump of organs generally enclosed within the shell. They have that radula that we talked about before. And they may be herbivores or carnivores. And they're gorgeous. Some of them are really, really pretty, right? Then you have bivalvia. These are your bivalves. These are your mollusks that have 2 hinge shells. If it does like this, it's a bivalve. So scallops, clams, mussels, oysters. Who likes raw oysters? Yes, I have a friend in this class, right?
I thought you would raise your hand.
Have you ever found a pearl?
My mom did.
Yep, my mom did too. Yep, when we were eating oysters. Yep, my mom, a tiny little pearl, but yeah, it's a pearl. I have yet to do that, but it is on my bucket list. Drew's godmother is from Beaufort, South Carolina, and there's certain times of the year when the oyster harvest, and she says when the tide gets low, you just put on mud boots and walk out there and just scoop them up with a knife and just pop them, just keep going. Yeah, some of them are real big, some are real little. So basically, your bivalves have your 2-part hinged shell, and they contain this soft-bodied little dude inside. And they usually tend to be filter feeders, right? They're just sucking stuff off the ground. That's the foot coming out there, by the way. We usually don't see that with the clam, but that's what it does.
If you're raw, you're eating something alive, right?
Yeah, they're alive when you pull them open. They're not going to live very long. I mean,
I think two people who really like that section here.
isn't that funny, Isabella? They are very tasty. Now you have cephalopod. Okay, gastropod with stomach foot. What is cephalopod? Cephalo. What does cephalo mean? Head. See how we're going to get head. Head and foot. So this is stuff, these are marine, exclusively marine, all right? Characterized by bilateral symmetry, a prominent head, a set of arms or tentacles modified from the primitive molluscan foot. Most are carnivores. They have a radula. They swim by jet propulsion and have the most complex invertebrate nervous system. Have you seen one of these within the last 24 hours? Yes. Did you dissect a squid? That was a cephalopod. Some of you said, no, where have you been? Yes, that is your squid, a cephalopod. It has a head, right? It had a clear head, right? All right. So now, you've probably heard this before, but these dudes are crazy smart. Who's seen, what is it, My Octopus Teacher? Is that what it is? That's very good. The documentary, totally worth watching. If you put a treat for an octopus inside a jar and sink it in its tank, it will open the jar and get it out.
Have you seen the Mark Roberts octopus video? He built like a maze.
Oh yeah, they got through it. I have seen that. Yeah.
One guy who taught us to play with the
Yeah, they can do all kinds of stuff. They open jars from the inside and get out. So, well, here's how they do that. Well, first we're going to go to Planet Fitness and get all buff, right? And then we're going to do whatever this next thing is. Okay.
And we wanted our website to be too.
Yeah, whoever. It's Hank. We love Hank.
Did you hear about the octopus that slipped out of its tank into a drain pipe and made a break for the sea? And what about the cephalopod that figured out how to open those child-proof pill bottles? Which, let's be honest, certain adult humans have a hard time doing sometimes. It's fair to say that octopuses are smart. But when we talk about the intelligence of other animals, we tend to fall into the trap of comparing them to humans, testing for everything from the size of their brains to qualities like emotions or learning abilities. But octopuses are very different from people. I don't know if you've noticed. In the evolutionary tree, they are a long way off from us, and they're probably way more complex than we might realize or understand. So your brain is in your head, and so are the brains of other animals that we consider intelligent, like dogs and dolphins and chimps and crows. Octopuses have central brains in their heads as well, and we have some anatomical similarities. For example, their brains generate similar electrical patterns as vertebrates, and they seem to have specialized brain areas for things like learning and memory storage. They also seem to have a dominant or preferred eye, which is an example of lateralization, similar to the way that people are right or left-handed. But the weird thing is, about 2/3 of their neurons are in their arms. Each arm literally has a mind of its own to do its own problem solving and act independently, while the other arms are doing something completely different. In a 2013 research study, scientists isolated arms from dead octopuses in order to test those neural responses. And they found that the isolated arms recoil from being pinched or from touching tap water or acetic acid. This suggests that they might have some kind of nociceptors or special neurons that sense danger, pain, like ones that make us pull our hand back from touching a hot stove. But unlike in humans, their arms can respond to these kinds of stimuli without being attached to a central brain. Other experiments have found that severed arms wiggle around and even grab onto food. So anatomically, octopuses are some pretty cool invertebrates. But what about their behavior? Octopuses have been observed using tools, like picking up 2 coconut halves to use as a mobile home, and manipulating objects in a way that looks a lot like playing. One 1993 study published in the Journal of Comparative Psychology even suggested that octopuses seem to display distinct personalities, reacting to food and threats in individual but consistent ways. One octopus might be consistently curious and daring, while another is careful and shy. Another study in 2001 seemed to show that young octopuses change their behavior over the course of weeks, becoming more alert to danger and learning from their environment. So octopuses do seem to have some sort of advanced cognition, learning and changing their behaviors over time. Even though we might see a lot of ourselves in the behavior of octopuses, we certainly didn't get there on the same path. Our vertebrate evolutionary branch split from the mollusks about 1.2 billion years ago, so human and octopus intelligence evolved completely separately. Scientists have a lot of different theories to try and explain how humans evolved intelligence, and one of them relates to our social lifestyle. Basically, forming long-lasting relationships could have meant better survival. But octopuses don't have that specific evolutionary pressure. They only live for a couple of years and are almost always alone. So how do these creatures evolve their intelligence and central brain while other mollusks, like oysters, didn't? Well, it might have something to do with the most obvious thing that separates an octopus from an oyster: the shell. At some point in their evolution, the octopus's ancestors probably traded the safety of a shell for freedom. Suddenly, they could move around and forage for food using a variety of hunting skills. So they also had to worry about becoming dinner, which led to all kinds of strategies to avoid being eaten, like hiding, camouflage, tool use, and speed. And all that self-preservation requires some sort of intelligence. The smarter octopuses would have had a better chance of survival. Octopuses might not look like us, move like us, live like us, or probably even think like us, but they have somehow evolved intelligence in ways we're only beginning to understand. Thank you for watching this episode of SciShow.
Pretty cool. I love them. There are some very small species that people will keep as pets. You have to have, come on, you have to have a really big tank for them, and they're very small. But like, there's a guy on Instagram I follow who has a tiny little octopus pet, and he's constantly giving it new tasks, and it's learned so fast. It's pretty wild. So now, another cephalopod that's kind of more similar to a squid is a cuttlefish. Now, if you've ever had a bird cage or seen somebody with a bird cage and there's this sort of oval-shaped white calcified looking thing that the bird kind of picks at, you ever seen that in there? It's a cuttlefish have this like bony structure in their back, and you can use those for birds to get calcium. They'll peck at them. So sometimes you can buy them in the store and like put them in your bird cage. But
we did some for the quail.
Oh, maybe that's a good idea. I hadn't considered that. So cuttlefish are amazing because they have the chromatophores, like we talked about your squid having the chromatophores today, and they can change color. But cuttlefish do it in the most advanced way of pretty much any species. Like chameleons change color, cuttlefish change pattern. It's wild how well they do. So watch this little guy and watch what these guys do. They impress me to death. Like, I love me some cuttlefish. And they're cute. They're very cute little faces too.
Okay, let's play a game.
Hollywood, the entertainment capital of the world.
Biologist Sarah Zielinski took these nuts, and if you needed a helping hand to find the cuttlefish, don't feel bad.
I've certainly taken photos in the past. I've come back to look at them and gone, I'm sure there's a cuttlefish in there somewhere.
These cephalopods are massive camouflagers. But while they're hiding their body, they're revealing something about their mind, or at least their visual system.
In very simple terms, they can tell us what they can see via the body patterns they produce on their skin.
They produce these body patterns by expanding or contracting chromatophores, these little ink sacs on their skin. And they use different displays for different reasons, like for male-to-male combat.
Two males will turn into each other and craft these kind of waves of dark chromatophores over a really bright, sort of iridescent, stripy body pattern.
That's wild.
Somehow solve these these combats. Eventually, one male, gives up and goes away.
And then there's this unsolved mystery. It changes color when it grabs a snack.
That doesn't make perfect sense because it seems to make it very conspicuous. So one theory is that, it's just a happy signal of how excited it is to have caught something, some response that it doesn't have any control over.
But most of the time, they seem to be using their chromatophores more intentionally, primarily to blend in.
Because otherwise they're more likely to be eaten. So it's very important they don't make mistakes about ambiguous visual information.
And ambiguous visual information is specifically what Zielinski's interested in. So here's the experimental setup. Print out laminated patterns like this checkerboard and stick them in a tank.
And we place the animals in the tank and we record the body patterns that they produce.
You're seeing them on squares, but they do the same thing on top of circles.
they produce the disruptive pattern where you get these blocky components or high contrast components.
But when you put a cuttlefish over squiggles, it produces a
sort of mottly pattern where you get these little groups of dark spots shown across the body.
So what happens when you put a cuttlefish on something in between? When you put them on incomplete circles. When we see something like this, our visual system likes to fill in the blanks. Something we do constantly, Zelensky says.
The reason why cartoons and sketches work is because we can recognize objects based on their edges alone.
And we can identify objects even if they're broken up or
have an object that is occluded by another object. That's no problem for us. We can still work out what the object is most of the time. And I was interested to know whether cuttlefish can solve similar problems.
And Zelensky and colleagues report this week that cuttlefish do seem to
fill in those gaps and interpret those little segments as a whole circle.
Or anyway, the broken circles prompted the same camo pattern as full circles. So if you're wondering, I see these as circles too, what's the big deal? The weird thing here is that there's no reason why cuttlefish, which are
invertebrates and they're in the same group as slugs and snails,
should see the world the way we do.
Yes, it's like they're alien, but we also seem to have so much in common with them.
The next step,
because we can't share the perceptive experience of a cuttlefish, it's hard to know exactly what it is that they're doing to fill in that missing information. And I want to try and get a better grasp on that and also see whether they actually respond to true illusory contours.
So you're going to show optical illusions.
Pretty cool, right? They're very cool. I love them. They're so neat. All right, so let's talk about Arthropoda. Look, we got two in here. This lovely little orchid mantis, this beautiful butterfly, right? So our features of phylum Arthropoda include a trypoblastic segmented bilaterally symmetrical body. So trypoblastic again means you have an endoderm, mesoderm, and an ectoderm, especially embryologically, right? And then they have bilateral symmetry and they're segmented, right? They have a head, thorax, and abdomen, typically speaking. They don't all have a head, thorax, and abdomen, but typically they do. So they exhibit organ system levels of organization. They've got actual organs, right? Their body's divided usually into head, thorax, and abdomen. We'll find a few that aren't, but they are still segmented. Their body has jointed appendages. These little joints, see them? Woohoo! They help with locomotion. They have a coelomic cavity. Remember, that's just their body cavity, and it's filled with blood. That's why when you squish a bug, it goes everywhere, right? Disgusting. And they have an open circulatory system. The head bears compound eyes. So they have little eye-like organs all over those eyes. That's why if you're trying to swat a fly from behind, it sees you coming. And I am really bad at fly swatting. My mom is the expert fly swatter in this house. She can get them, but I suck at it. By the way.
He's like jumping at them.
Oh, yeah?
About to swat at them.
Yeah. Weird story about flies. If you, okay, this didn't come from your science teacher. But if you are able to catch a housefly, okay, and you're able to get it into like a little Ziploc bag and seal the bag and put it in the freezer for like a minute, just a minute, like you'll slow its body processes down to the point where it's sleep. You don't leave it for more than that because you'll kill it, but just let it sleep, okay, sleepy. And if you're very good fine motor detail, you can tie a small thread onto one of its legs, and then when it wakes up, you can. Ask me how I know. Yes.
Flea circuses, right?
Huh? Flea circuses. Yeah. Flea circuses. But yeah, you can actually do that if you're. I used to be really bored. So their exoskeletons made of chitin. What organism again has cell walls made of chitin? Fungus. Random, right? Your fungus cell wall is made of the same thing. And remember, we talked about our jawless fishes. It's the same material that make their little teeth, right? So terrestrial arthropods excrete through these little tubules in their body, and aquatic ones excrete through glands or coaxial glands, green glands. They have different names. They are unisexual, and fertilization is either internal or external. This means they're two sexes, typically. And they have developed a digestive system. They respire or breathe through their general body surfaces on trachea, right? They have little holes in their shells and they breathe. That's how they do gas exchange. They contain sensory organs like hair, antenna, simple compound eyes, auditory organs, Sometimes they can hear, auditory organs. Statocyst, that has to do with like feeling of the ground and the area around you moving and that sort of thing. So our subphyla are going to be, first we start with these guys, Chelicerata. So these are your spiders, scorpions, harvestmen, mites, ticks, all these kinds of guys. Tend to have 6 pairs. Obviously your arachnids are going to have 4 pairs, so of jointed appendages. 2 mouth, 4 thorax is usually how they go. And you have these little specialized appendages. If you consider your arachnid like this, 2 mouth, if you consider these a pair of appendages, little mandibles, then you've got 2 mouth, 4 thorax. So then you've got hexapoda. By the way, it's that peacock spider. You ever seen them in a video? They shake their butt like, hey, baby, look at me, I'm hot. Yeah, it's really kind of fun. Yeah. So hexapoda are your winged and wingless insects. So this includes like, your ants, your bumblebees, your wasps, that kind of thing. They have 1 pair of antennae, 1 pair of mandibles, 1 pair of maxillae. Your mandible is your low part, your maxilla is your top part, right? They have a labium, which is like a floor to their mouth. It's very similar to your Greek root for lip. So it has to do with mouth. So they have a labium, which is this floor to their mouth. They're 3 pairs of jointed appendages, 1 on each thoracic segment. So their thorax is going to be segmented, and then they've got on each side, they got 1, 2, 3 pairs of little legs. And they have a gonopore on the posterior portion of their abdomen, which is like a genital pore. And then they have wings, a lot of them, but not all of them. Some do, some don't. Then we have crustaceans, okay? So these are crabs, lobsters, crayfish, shrimp, krill, that kind of thing. Wood lice, barnacles. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, barnacles are going to fall into this category, but they don't look like everything else, right? They look very different, but they're technically a crustacean. Your best example of a land-dwelling crustacean, there aren't very many, are roly-polies, pillbugs. Those are crustaceans, not insects. They don't fall into this like hexapoda kind of insect category. They're actually crustaceans. They're more closely related to a lobster than to a beetle, which is wild because they kind of look like a beetle, right? But they're segmented. Coconut, what? Crabs? Yeah, you got land-dwelling crabs and stuff too. Yeah. There are lots of crabs that are land-dwelling crabs, but hermit crabs, right? There too. Those are crustaceans too. But there's something different about your little roly-polies. Like they really stand out as being kind of an odd crustacean because they don't look like the rest of them. So they have 2 pairs of antennae. They have gills. They have 7 or more pairs of jointed appendages, each often with 2 branches. And those are for feeding, swimming, walking, respiration, reproduction, clasping, sperm transfer, egg brooding, and carrying young. They're mostly aquatic. So if you look, like these are the flippy ones they swim with, right? These are the ones they crawl with, and these are grabby. They also tend to have this going on. Crustaceans, a lot of them will have on their appendages, they'll have this little jointed opposable deal for pinching, right? And then lastly, we have myriapoda. What does myriad mean? Many, right? So these are your millipedes, your centipedes, these guys. Many pairs of jointed appendages, 2 body sections, just a head and a trunk. So not 3 body sections like these guys have, right? 1 pair of antennae on the head, simple eyes, mandibles in your lower jaw, maxilla is your upper jaw, and they have respiratory exchange through a tracheal system, similarly to these dudes, right? Okay. Look at that. So pretty. Yes, Rhea. Insect ecology is a scientific study of how insects individually or as a community interact with the surrounding environment or ecosystem. They comprise over 80% of the terrestrial species on Earth. So of all the land-dwelling animals on Earth, everything from ants to humans to chimpanzees to dogs, there are more that are like ants than anything else. There are more insects than any other type of organism on the planet. 80% of all terrestrial species. They drive production of seeds, fruits, vegetables through pollination. They're necessary decomposers of organic matter. Anybody ever seen yellow jackets like devour a skeleton of something? Because they're little scavengers. I had a little snake die in the front yard once, and I left it to watch, and the yellow jackets within 24 hours had it down to bone. Yeah.
We were at Georgia Tech visiting the chaplain there.
Yes.
And we walked outside, and there was yellow jackets just swarming this dead squirrel. I
watched
one go in the squirrel's mouth and come out the eyes.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. They're really good at that as a decomposer at cleaning up stuff. And then obviously You know that bees are super important. We have wasps that will go in and they will invade beehives and they'll eat all the larvae. And then, so we have, and there's also a disease too, but we have colony collapse in bees, and that's a real problem because we need bees. So that's something to consider if you're spraying for wasps and things outside your house and hornets. There are some things you can do that will kill the wasps and the hornets and not the bees. I will tell you, I think that paper bag thing is a lie. Somebody said hang a paper bag on your back porch and the wasps won't come because they think it's another wasp's nest. No, they didn't care. Carpenter bees, it's supposed to keep carpenter bees away. Carpenter bees, we had to take our whole deck down because they destroyed our whole deck, which is why we now have treps and not wood. We used to have a wooden deck. But I got a 6-foot piece of wood, right? And that had been a rail. And you could hear them in there at night. You could touch it and it was warm because they were moving in there. Oh yeah. But I took a hammer to it because I was curious. And I beat that wood until it was just splinters. And I pulled almost 70 dead bees or bee larvae, carpenter bees, out of that thing. Like in a 6-foot one. They will destroy your house really fast. So insects are keystone species. What's a keystone species? Who remembers? Wait.
No,
Nope.
a species that if you take it out of the ecosystem, it collapses.
Yes. You're thinking pioneer species. Yes. If you take an insect if an insect population decreases or goes away, then the community can collapse. The community of all the other organisms, right? They form the base of complex ecological food webs, agricultural, natural, urban areas. They shape the appearance of the land. And at the same time, many are significant pests in agricultural crops and urban areas. So we use pesticides for them. We've also genetically modified certain vegetables and fruits and crops so that they don't eat them because they can cause problems for crops. They can also spread diseases, malaria. How's malaria spread? Mosquito bites, right? They bite somebody with malaria. They get that blood in them. Then they come and bite you. You get some of that blood in you. Now you got malaria, right? Zika virus.
Aren't you technically aren't you related the mosquito babies because they use your blood to make their
Oh no no, they just feed on it. So invasive insect species can destroy crops, upset the balance of ecosystems. They can threaten global biodiversity, food security, human livelihoods. And insect-borne diseases cause millions of deaths each year. If you remember back when we talk about some of our more famous scientists, for a while, one of the main ways we were controlling insect-borne diseases was using DEET. It's a chemical that is extremely effective as a pesticide. But then it started causing birth defects. So if you look up famous female scientists, one of the ones that's always going to pop up, aside from Rosalind Franklin and whatever, it's going to be Rachel Carson. Rachel Carson is the one who was like, hey, guess what's causing the birth defects? It's your pesticide. And now we use it very sparingly. Yeah, it used to be everywhere. It was just everywhere. So good for Rachel Carson. Now these guys are cool, super cool.
Enjoy 24-hour access.
Yeah.
Pay $28 or more when you.
Okay, workout. I know. I should leaf bug. Although I love stick bugs. I caught one once. I got to watch it.
Not a leaf. When it's got a face and 6 pointy legs. It's a giant Malaysian leaf insect. You are what you eat definitely applies here. They blend in with their food, which is also their home, to hide from hungry predators. But how hard is it to be a leaf, really? You just stay still. Really still. But it takes more than that. The mimicry is masterful. Their bodies have intricate veins, just like a plant does. And on the edges, brown spots, like a crinkly, damaged leaf. This type of camouflage, where you copy your natural surroundings, is known as protective resemblance. It's all that they have, since their short antennae and small eyes don't really help them spot predators. They cling there with tiny bifurcated toes. Moving is the biggest mistake this insect could make. Even when it's time to lay eggs, it barely moves a muscle. The eggs just plop down to the forest floor. They're camouflaged too. They look like teeny brown seeds or leaf insect poop. That's an egg, and that's poop. The active young nymphs start out brown and transform gradually, taking on a little more green over time. This one's halfway to a fresh leaf. Its color is set though, it can't change it on the fly. But this nymph still has a big migration to make, getting into a tree undetected. So it sways. Yep, like a leaf in the breeze.
I love them.
How did you get this photo?
That funky walk is all leaf. A dance of disguise.
That's very cool.
Not more than anybody.
So why do you suppose the babies are brown? What do you think? Yeah, the dead leaves on the forest floor. That's ingenious. That's absolutely ingenious when you think about it. Like evolutionarily, that is an amazing strategy. So let's talk about Echinodermata. Here's a word for you. Derm is what? Skin. Echino. Spiky, spiny. So spiky, spiny skin are your echinoderms. So your characteristic features are exclusively marine. Larval forms show bilateral symmetry. Adult forms show radial symmetry. Isn't that fun? That's interesting. Tripoblastic again. Endoderm, mesoderm, ectoderm. Exhibit organ systems, right? They have a true coelom. Some of you may see your coelom from your sea urchin. It will be orange and spongy, and it's still stuck up inside of it. For some of you, it came out or started to come out, but you may see it when you go to clean them. The body, everybody's looking. The body is uniquely shaped. It can like elongated or spherical, or can be a star shape too, like a star. The body is segmented without a head. Body surface is covered in calcareous spicules. That's what these are called, spicules. You probably still have a couple floating around in your jar, little spicules. The body cavity has distinguishing water vascular system. Okay, who remembers from physical science, we talked about a water vascular system as an example of something in particular. Do you remember? Physical science, we were talking about a type of, a way to use fluids. And we used a water vascular system as an example. Do you remember? It's a hydraulic system, essentially. We talked about hydraulic systems, and a natural example is a water vascular system. They move water through their bodies, and the change in water pressure is what moves their appendages along or allows them to have any form of locomotion. It's not like muscles are moving them. It's water pressure is moving them. It's really cool. So their pufferfish aren't an echinoderm. So their tube feet help in locomotion. Their brain is absent, but there's a little bit of a nervous system present. They have a nerve ring and little radial nerve cords. Respiration occurs through their tube feet and their gills. Their sense organs are poorly developed and include tactile organs, chemoreceptors, terminal tentacles, etc. The sexes are separate and fertilization is external. Lost parts can be regenerated. If you chop off a sea star's arm, it will regenerate that arm, and that is pretty darn cool. Our classes are Asteroidea, aster meaning star, astronomy, right? And these are your sea stars. They're usually flat. The adults are radially symmetrical. They can have 5 arms usually, but sometimes up to 40. It's pretty wild. They're freely mobile. They have tube feet for locomotion, little suckers, right? Regenerative abilities. And when you talk about this sort of thing here, this kind of has to do, again, with like, it's very remedial. It's like the same type of thing that eventually develops into your anal pores in higher organisms, but it's a sieve plate, right? And then you have these guys. These are your brittle stars, and they're similar to sea stars, except they have more arms that are whip-like, they're longer, and they have this disc. See how there's a disc that the arms radiate from, where in this case it's not, it's a solid mass, right? And they can twist and bend their arms, they can move much faster. If you've ever seen these guys move, they kind of haul, like they move. And again, they have their little sieve plate on the bottom. And then we have these, Echinidia. And these are your sea urchins, heart urchins, and sand dollars. This is what a sand dollar looks like when it's not dried and sitting in a tourist shop. They look very different. What all you're getting is their skeleton, basically. Yep, when you get those this is how they actually look. Yeah. Oh, cool. That's very cool. So their arms are absent. They do have tube feet. When they're in this set, they're tiny, tiny little tube feet. And they have 5 bands and they have little suckers on their feet. They actually do. They're just itty bitty. They have ossicles of body unity to form rigid. So this is kind of spiky on top is what it's saying. And they have these little 3-jawed things. And with your, it will tell you in your description for how to manage your sea urchin what you're going to find inside of its body. A couple of them fell out. Most of them are still inside of their body. It's their mouthpiece, and it's shaped like this, and it's my favorite thing about them. It's called Aristotle's lantern. It looks like a lantern. It's so flipping cool. And when you clean it, the best way to do it is, if it hasn't already fallen apart, just leave some of that connective tissue there because it will stay together. And you can dry it out and keep it. And it's like this little, it looks just like a little lantern. It's really, really neat. And then you have these guys, Crinoidea, and these are like, they look more like an anemone type situation because they tend to kind of hang out on the ocean floor. A lot of these are extinct. There's a lot of fossils of these guys, but they have these little feathery arms and they kind of little tentacle feet and stuff like that. They move around, but not a lot. And then you've got these dudes, Holothoroidea. These are your sea cucumbers. Their outside is spiky like this, but their inside's a big old mush. And they are bilaterally symmetrical. And they have a single gonad. And they're sedimentary feeders. Their body is surrounded by their tube feet. And they have these branched tentacles that surround their mouth, and they can fill them up. They're funky looking dudes. Some people eat them. I've seen people eat them. Yeah. So if you watch here, this is going to actually show you how the sea stars move, which you probably have never seen because usually when you see them, they're in a tourist shop and they're little dried up white things. And you go, oh, I mean, not sea stars, sand dollars. And you see the sand dollar and you go, cool sand dollar, you know? And they treat them like a seashell, but they're totally different. I don't know. There's their little tube feet. Look at that. They do have them. They're just teeny.
It's a beachcomber's pride. Because this sand dollar is just an empty husk, a skeleton. This is what sand dollars really look like. Off the coast of California, Pacific sand dollars snuggle up together like a big husk of purple sea cookies.
I wouldn't eat
No.
But up close, that fuzz is actually made up of tiny spines.
See the little feet in there too? Spines and feet.
Some long, spiky, others rounder. Mixed in are miniature tube feet.
There they are.
With cracking little suckers on the ends.
They're so cute.
They use them to meticulously sieve the sand and pass the grains down the line until they reach the sand dollar's mouth. Very center of its underside, buried all those spines. Sand dollars eat sand. They're after the algae and bacteria that coat the grains. And these sand dollars can also stand themselves up on their sides to use the long spines around their edges to trap tiny plankton floating by. So what about that part that looks like a flower with 5 petals? It's called the petaloid. They have special tube feet there that help the sand dollar breathe, absorbing oxygen out of the water. You can see that same 5-point body plan on the skeletons of their relatives, like starfish and sea
So look for that on your sea urchin. You should have 5 bands like that.
In fact, sand dollars are just a type of flat sea urchin. But while their cousins prefer the rocky shore, chock full of life and spots to hide, sand dollars don't have such a cozy place to live. They're at the mercy of what's basically an
Hey, your mother's texting.
Crash and sandblasted. So being flat is an advantage.
Bye.
Green line against
I just saw it. Tell her I just saw it. I wasn't looking. So, because it was like 10 minutes ago. She's up here waiting.
Solution for staying put. Not all sand is the same. Mixed in there are some extra heavy grains.
Now this is crazy.
They're made of magnetite, a type of iron ore. Scientists think that as they grow, young sand dollars sort them out and swallow them, grain after grain. The heavy ore builds up inside their bodies and helps weigh them down to the sea floor.
How's that for strategy?
At the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco, researchers used X-rays of sand dollars to look for it. See those bright white areas? Those are the pockets of magnetite.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Out here in such turbulent waters where most other things can't. Turns out, it takes a lot of work just to lay around.
Pretty crazy. That is crazy. So, I'll go through these real quick. So your answer should be, I'll let you turn. So under origin of invertebrates, number 1, about 3 billion years past. Number 2, they are single-celled eukaryotes, sometimes grow in colonies. They may have evolved from ancestors with shared with animals. Number 3, roughly 600 million years ago. Number 4 is B, 5 is B, 6 is A, 7 is C, 8 is B, 9 is D. So this is what your cladogram chart should look like. And you can go back and look at this because it'll be on Dropbox, right? 3 evolutionary trends you see in invertebrates. Invertebrates develop complex body plans, including specialized tissues. They also develop body symmetry, such as bilateral or radial symmetry. Arthropods, annelids, and mollusks developed protostome, while echinoderms developed a deuterostome. And remember I said protostome and deuterostome has to do with like anal pore development and all that kind of business, right? All right, embryological evidence suggests that most ancient chordates, yes, that's true. Number 2 is you want to replace vertebrate with chordate. Number 3 is you're going to place chordate with vertebrate. Number 4 is cartilage instead of bone. Number 5 is true, 6 is true, 7 is true, and 8, you are replacing mammals with fishes. This chart should look something like this. Go back and check it, make sure you get it right. Sharks and their relatives are the first group of animals with jaws. Why are jaws important? Because it enabled them to more easily feed and defend themselves. 3 adaptations needed for chordates to move living in water to land. These would be things like legs to crawl around, ways to breathe, and ways to protect themselves from drying out. Also protect their eggs from drying out, right, usually. So under what is a primate? Number 1, nails. Number 2, clavicle. Number 3, binocular vision. Number 4, cerebrum. And then 5A, 6D, 7B, 8A, 9D, 10D, 11C. And you're good to go. Have fun with your little sea urchins. Bring it back dry next week. Bring back everything you've been access to bring back. Awesome. Glad to be back and see y'all again.
I do terminal lucidity for my
Yeah, I don't know if I set that up yet or not. Did I? Is it in there?
It's in there, yeah. When I played it just looks to the.
I'll show you the. Sometimes what happens with the Dropbox is if you've done another class like you have, it's like the link is cached or something weird and it gets strange. So I will check it again and make sure that it's up and functioning. You make a note of that.
Then I have a video.
What you got? Oh, I have video of my surgery too, if y'all want. Final project link. I gotta update it. Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. There were these birds in my neighbor's yard. Are they mating or fighting? I can't tell.
Ooh. They're probably mating.
They're like flying up in the air sometimes.
Those are cool.
It was
Probably mating. But they could be fighting too. Oh, it looks actually, those look like mockingbirds. That's probably fighting. If
Okay.
that's two male mockingbirds, they are fighting because they are very no, they're like what's another adjective for this word? Sexually motivated.
okay.
You probably know the word I'm going for.
Yeah.
But they're very sexually motivated. They will sit in a tree and just sing everybody else's song to try and pick up a chick.
My mouthpiece fell out. It's really cool.
Isn't it cool? It's the coolest thing.
I was like, what is that? And then you said it. I'm like, nice.
Aristotle's lantern. Let's see. Anybody wants to see my mouth surgery? I've got it in here somewhere. It's really cool.
I want to see it in a little bit.
I'll find it in here though. Where is it? Oh, I know. Wait, it's in my. Let me do it here. Oh yeah. I wonder if we can follow it. Yeah. Oh, I don't have it. What's it? That? I swear it doesn't come along. Oh, I don't see it. Hold on. It's so gross, but so cool. Let's see this one day. Oh, here it is. Here, you want to see it? They dug in there. You can see her sticking, and I'm laughing. Okay, but you can see her stick that 17mm probe in there. It is pretty wild. So there's the probe. There's the whole look. She stuck it all the way in. And then she actually tells her assistant, you can get a better angle if you come over here, so she moves. My students will love it. I was so high. Like, no, most of them will hate it. But hey. Some of us are curious. Yeah, man. No laughing. I'm so high. She really jams it in. It's just wild. Like, look. There's the little hole. See the little hole she drilled right there? She finds that hole and she goes, all the way in. All the way in.
It was when
Oh,
I had a cavity and they had to put the plant thing out.
yes.
Hold your mouth
Hold your
open.
mouth open.
Because I just wouldn't trust me.
Those bite blocks, they call those. I hate those things. They always slip around and it's uncomfortable. But yeah, I had one for this thing, but I was so high it wouldn't have mattered. Like they didn't. I couldn't do the IV sedation like I had done for the root. This is the irony. I did IV sedation for the root canal.
Yeah.
Because I'm very difficult to numb and I didn't want to feel pain. So I did IV sedation. And then they couldn't give me any more IV sedation for the mouth surgeries because I dared to have a protein shake at 6 a.m. because I was starved because I hadn't eaten in like 48 hours. So I had a protein shake at 6 a.m. and they're like, well, you might aspirate because you've eaten too soon. And I'm like, I'll wait. I'll just sit here and wait because she'd already numbed the nerve. That was the worst part of it. That was the worst part of all of it. Monday was the most pain I'd ever been in last Monday. And then she stuck that needle into that infected and inflamed nerve, and I nearly came out of the chair. But then it was numb, and then it was so much better because it stopped hurting. But I was a blubbering mess. I had no control over myself anymore. I was exhausted, physically exhausted, emotionally exhausted. Pain was off the charts. Most painful experience of my life. Most difficult, worst day ever. And then she's like, "We'll just give you some oral sedative powder." So she gave me the oral sedative powder, and then they gave me nitrous. And I was like, my students will love this.
Yeah,
Nitrous for me did not work too.
They had to amp it up for me.
Oh, they were like, we have this on max and it's still not.
Oh, really? It's the only time I've ever had it is these 2 dental surgeries that I've had.
It's just been hurting more recently, and I'm thinking it's because the scab was coming up,
Yeah.
but it's not healed underneath.
Yeah.
So then the stitches kept going back, like the leftover stitches kept digging back in, and then the scab came off,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still not healed.
Right.
So it's leaking yellow poop.
Have you put Duoderm on it?
What?
Okay, so it's called Duoderm. You can check with your doctor, but it's probably Okay, I'll write it down for you. So after my appendectomy on my scar, my doctor suggested this stuff. It is collagen impregnated medical grade silicone. So it comes in, you can get it on Amazon, and it comes in like a big square that's like this big. But you can take your scissors and just cut whatever size you need. And then you make like a little bandage. And you peel it, okay, peel the backing off, and the whole silicone is bioadhesive. So the whole thing sticks to you, right? All of it covers everything. And then just mush on it a little bit, and it kind of activates the collagen. So it gives you moisture, pressure, and collagen. So it reduces scarring and healing. But here's the thing, when the oozing comes up, it'll ooze out and it'll cause that part, just that part of the bandage to kind of get wet and detach, but the rest of it will stay stuck. So as that area shrinks, it kind of, as you keep changing bandages, it's the best stuff. Like you can barely see my appendectomy scars. It's so little.
Because at this point, it's the bigger spot that's the problem. Because the smaller spot came off first.
Yeah.
With the stitches, I definitely didn't squeeze them out.
I know what you mean.
Definitely not.
My body rejects stitches. It pushes them out.
I have one that's still in my foot.
Glue on my forehead.
Oh, do you?
I have one that's still in my foot that just
It'll make its way out. Yeah.
But that one's basically good.
Yeah.
But the bigger one came off way too early. So now it's just hurting.
Yeah.
And I had a Band-Aid on it, and it doesn't matter whether it's fully dried out by the time I put a Band-Aid on it,
it gets sticky.
It started leaking yellow, and then it was yellow and brown, and then it was yellow, brown, and red, mostly brown.
Gross, man. Yeah. Try that Duoderm. It works so well. And it's a good, like a cushion, because it's like this thick. It's really nice. Like it's
Just curious, what did you do different with this purple plant? Because the one you have in there is completely green.
I didn't do anything. I just put him in here with that, and then maybe that piece of wood is doing it.
Okay.
Oh no.
I know
It's to be purple.
Yeah, so the one in there.
You need more sun, I think. Yeah.
Well, actually, it needs nutrient rich like substrate.
Yeah, probably. I don't care if he dies. I've never put a plant in there before. Yeah.
It'll survive. It won't turn purple, but it'll survive.
I've never bothered to put a plant in any of these before with them, so I was just like, no, I have some. I'll stick it in and we'll see. So if it croaks, it croaks. But if it survives, it survives. Do you need a hand to your car?
My aunt says she's in the. I don't know what to get. I don't know what it is.
It's all right. You're right. I think this guy's gone, so that might have actually the bell. Yeah, it was not. They did attack, though. Jordan, do you want your spear too? You guys want to see next week? Have a good one. What? What do you mean? Where are they? table. Here. Where did they go?
That's CJ, because CJ was a lot personal.
Can't see him over here either. Yeah, maybe see if she got him. Did she had him in her hand? What color are they? Black. Little, like in a case? Like that?
Over here.
Oh, big ones. Oh, yeah, they should be easy to find. Weird. They're definitely not in your backpack?
No.
Oh, I need a chair. This chair. See,
So just put me in my bag and grab this food.
okay, all right. Okay, good. You know where they are. Make sure you get down the stairs. What up, brush? Why do you have me downstairs? That scares me. I'm down the narrow pathway, so if we can go stuff. You can. There we go. This is easier than the front. Your mom's like, I should go down a different door. All right, girl. See you next week. Back we are. You want to go look at our new fence on wall? It's awesome. Ready? Go see. I want to go see. I need my sunglasses in case I need them, but I want to go see our new fence. Let's go see. Come here, Auntie, let's look. This is going to be so cool. You got a new fence, puppy? Forgot to turn off my recording.
Love you.
Hold on. I just realized, I just remembered. I'm like, oh crap. It's gonna take forever to process if I don't. There we go. You're heading out?